Hello and welcome to the Poorhammer Podcast, episode 130. I'm your host, Brad. This is my co-host, Eric.
How's it going?
We have a conspiracy today. Eric, I have been watching a lot of Columbo recently, and it's made me think about things logically. I think I'm onto something. I think there's some IP thieves around here, stealing ideas from other hardworking designers and throwing it into their IP.
All right. I mean, I know that that's been brought up a couple times in the Warhammer community, so where are you going with this?
And also they can time travel.
All right. That sounds like a late season Columbo. Sounds good.
All right, fair warning before we start. This episode may actually kill certain members of the audience with how much sarcasm and satire is going into this. So,
yeah, disclaimer of this is fun. You understand. This is entertainment.
I hope you enjoy cringe.
This is going to be tough to do, isn't it?
All right, so here's the idea.
I mean, you said time travel and IP theft.
I believe that time bandits are real.
An interesting proposition. We'll see what your reasons for that are, but why do you think time thieves are happening?
It has come to my attention that there are certain things in Games Workshop's IPs that could be seen as being based off other IPs. But we know the universal truth is Games Workshop would never steal an idea from somebody else.
Okay, good, because I was worried. I was honestly terrified that you were going to imply that Games Workshop was the one responsible, and that was...
No.
Ooh.
Flat out not possible.
Okay, good. I'm glad we're on the same playing field and we both agree that that would be unthinkable.
So the only explanation left is that it is happening in the reverse order, but that wouldn't make sense if you were traveling forward in time.
I see where you're going with this. I think I'm understanding. So, you're saying somebody's taking GW's brilliance and going back and doing it first.
And not just one person. There's a lot of them.
Really? Oh.
We're looking at a 15-page document right now.
This is like an entire organized crime syndicate going on, huh?
And first of all, the first one on this list is that rat bastard. The one who just stole everything from everybody. Tolkien.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, actually. You know? It's always been one of those, how did he think of all of these fantasy tropes?
It's just very clear that it's Warhammer Fantasy Battle, but it doesn't take place on Earth. It takes place on Middle-earth.
Yeah. No, I could see that. There's a lot of similarities going on there. And, definitely, it's got elves and dwarves and halflings and...
ogres, goblins.
Yeah, I could see that working out. And, obviously, if you were going to be in Token's position, you wouldn't, copy everything perfectly. You'd change things Middle-earth. Yeah.
Right. It just makes too much sense. Everything falls into place when you realize he was a time traveler.
Yeah, I could get behind that.
What he didn't steal from Games Workshop, he clearly stole from Dungeons and Dragons and every other schlock fantasy setting that exists. He may even have watched an isekai. The poor fool.
Wow, that seems a bit sad. That he ended up with Lord of the Rings if he watched the greatest genre ever of isekai, and this is what we got out of it. But
this episode is good. I'm glad we're doing this. But enough about Tolkien. We can only insinuate so much about this alleged time thief, because his estate is very lawsuit happy.
Yeah, a bit of a concern there. But, obviously all of this is allegedly, right?
Yes, we can't prove that they're time-traveling thieves.
But it seems there's a lot of strong evidence so far.
There's another author who I want to put up on the chopping block here for stealing these ideas. That prick, Frank Herbert. He stole the entire Imperium.
Yeah, I guess Dune has a few things similar to the style of the Imperium from, Warhammer.
Just a few. And as we can see, he took a lot of the more solidified Imperium from 1989-ish and took it all the way back to 1965 with him. We've got our all-women's religious order type army. We've got our Emperor of Mankind. We've got our hatred of AI. We've got our our weird navigation system that limits the progress of humanity, and the list just goes on.
Yeah, there is a lot of similarities going on with how Dune's set up and how the Imperium is set up. I could understand that because, it's always been one of those in the back of my head going, I wonder if GW's Imperium's been taking a few things, but
we know they don't do that.
Obviously. So, yeah, this actually, Frank Herbert being a time traveler and stealing it first, allegedly.
It makes more sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does make a lot more sense. And, it also makes sense on why, Dune has, some, fleshed out bits that's more coherent, whereas, some of the early Imperium stuff was, still trying to figure stuff out. So, they had to go through the effort.
I love how much of an insult that is when
it really is such a backhanded plate.
That's why it took him so long to rip off Dune. Enough about books, though. There are movies to blame, too. And while we're on the subject of the Imperium, I was watching this movie called Predator.
That is a classic movie.
It is, but it's really soured for me now, because I've realized that they just stole the Catachan, straight up. The whole image of them. They made them a lot better looking than the actual Catachan models for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, it's a movie. That's just, what Hollywood does. They take something and they glam it up, right?
But they do it so exact. It's upsetting. There's that one Sergeant model that GW made as the store promo, and in the movie they had the gall to even cut Dylan's arm off. That is the Power Fist arm of the Sergeant model that looks just like him and has the same mustache.
That's just awful, honestly. I can understand that there's a certain amount of inspiration and you want to say, oh yeah, that was such a good thing. I want to also, show that I enjoy it. But there's a certain aspect that's a bit much when you have to, write in somebody's arm getting cut off. That's just, come on, man.
It's upsetting.
That is too bad because Predator has been one of those enjoyable classics, but yeah, it kind of soured now.
And while we're on the subject of Guard, there's the Cadians, their 3rd edition design, the classic Cadian design that's gone through all the way to today. Started in 1999. 2 years before that, Starship Troopers went back in time and copy-pasted that design onto their movie that is about soldiers in space who fight bugs and die a lot.
Oh boy.
It could not be more copy-paste.
It's pretty obvious that the designs are inspired at the very least. And yeah, they probably just took it. It does bring up a question on if the original writer of Starship Troopers was also in on this.
Well, he did kind of just copy GW's whole thing of the bunch of mooks fighting for an evil regime against aliens of questionable morality.
Yeah, and the aliens were bug kind of things.
Yeah, basically just hungry bugs like the Tyranids.
Yeah.
And this book does predate GW.
1959, 60, something like that.
He definitely could have stole these ideas.
There is a lot there.
When you combine it with what Frank Herbert stole for Dune, it's all adding up. This is everything 40K's Imperium is.
Yeah, there is a lot that's heavily similar, especially from the book writing styles and that kind of stuff on Cadians, Guard in general, and fighting this terrible alien type thing. I could absolutely see him being in league with these time travelers and going back. I feel like I might want to throw in John Steakley as well for his armor book, just because it's very similar to the bolter porn that we get from 40K's fiction. So yeah, they went back to different dates, but
this conspiracy goes so deep.
I think that's just another way to try and divert attention away from what they're doing.
And stepping away from the Imperium, just looking at some Xeno stuff, this one goes pretty far. Mandalore going crazy.
One of those, huh?
The game that is essentially a 10-year project of making an ARG.
The rabbit hole that never ends.
We're going to have to look at Marathon for what is essentially the Tau Empire. It's so blatant that they even took the Tau's faction symbol and took it back to be Marathon's symbol for the game. And then they were so proud of it, they just kept using it into Halo. where they continued to use their Tau ripoff and renaming it the Covenant. The whole time through, from their Marathon bad guys all the way through to the Covenant, they did the exact same thing.
It really is pretty blatant. Like, the fact that they used the same symbol from Marathon, and, I mean, the Crew.
Oh yeah, the Crew that came out just a couple years after Halo 1, and the Vespid that came out just a couple years after Halo 2. Yeah, it all lines up. It was like they were bragging and doing it all 2 years first.
And that's the terrible thing, is like, it's one thing to be like the time traveler that makes big changes like Token, right? But like 2 years ahead of time, that feels like it's just kind of like a slap.
Yeah, like over and over again.
Yeah.
And while we're on the subject, we've got the Phobos armor that Master Chief stole when they did Halo. That tactical look that would go on to be like the classic Space Marine in all video games, not Space Marine in the IP of GW, look for 2001 through modern day.
Yeah, wow, Bungie really went ham on it and just decided to go all in.
It's kind of crazy that they stole that tactical Phobos look.
Yeah, because you can see there's like the iterations of like they started somewhere and like there was a good idea and they had to like keep iterating until they got to the tactical look. And wow, Bungie just swept under cheating time travel to get ahead of them.
And the Tau didn't even get away with only getting robbed once. They got robbed by those anime nerds. Like, look at Gundam. They one for one took like every Forge World Tau model and turned them into Gundams. It's so blatant.
It is just awful that they were able to take GW and without having to invest in coming up with their own idea and just create Gundams that are like basically a superior product from plastic and like assembly and like it's colored and all that stuff. So like it's just like kind of cheating, right?
Yeah, it really is rude. And like to do it exactly 2 years before them again, it's like 2 years is the normal manufacturing turnaround time for a project. So it makes them look awful. It's cruel. But to like extend timelines again, we can go into some non-media ones. Ideas so good from GW that they were ripped off by militaries.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, Warhammer is a military strategy game. Like, it's a war game. So I can understand if you have time traveling technology that you know, look at these awesome designs and be like, we can do that and we can do it first.
Yeah. And these designs are all known to be the best designs to ever exist. They're all wonderfully designed. Everyone who loves tanks looks at Warhammer's tanks and says, man, that is the best looking tank I've ever seen. I can't believe they designed something so intelligently. And that's how we ended up with a bunch of British real tanks that looked like these, because the British are good at things.
Like tank design and the FV432. I'm sure that's pronounced differently.
It's British, so you have to add a useless letter in the middle that you don't pronounce. But the Americans did that one too, because of the M113. It is universally stolen from, because the Rhino is just the best design ever. Who could have come up with the idea of a trapezoid other than Games Workshop?
It's clearly the most efficient design for what it's trying to do. It's nice that the military were able to actually get something out of it, but it's just kind of rude, right?
Yeah, you should at least credit them.
Yeah, like you said, it wasn't just once, right? Like, there's a couple other tanks that clearly stolen from time travelers.
Yeah, like looking at the Rogel Dorn, which just came out, the Pershing didn't even try to hide that it was copying its homework. It's even got the little hooks on the front.
Yeah, that one.
It's got a subturret in the exact same spot on the front. It's wild they got away with this. I can't believe America would do this and steal from the British. The British, who would never steal from anybody.
Yeah, the British are well known not to steal from anybody. I mean, they'll just quietly relocate to a different area.
Like a museum.
It's not stealing. It's just showing it in a better light.
Then we got the Land Raider, which again just proves that the British military had time travelers who were just stealing from Games Workshop. Because you ended up with the Mark V. It even has the same stupid sponson design. They didn't even think to put anything better there or to top mount a weapon. It's insane. They copied a known terrible design just because GW did it.
Yeah, and they went all the way back to 1918, which, like, I get it. You know, if you're going to copy this design, you got to go to the right time period for it to be even remotely useful. It's not the only one, though. There's plenty of other examples, but I think we can finish with one more and just know that there's a lot of other tanks out there that have been stolen by these time travelers.
Which one is that, Eric?
Well, I mean, the Vindicator has come up a few times.
Has it? In our comments section? I've never seen these. There's not 500 of them below this video.
I don't know. That sounds like time traveler talk right there. Are you in on this?
We'll find out. So, who stole the Vindicator?
Well, it was World War II time, so them.
Which side? Who them?
Well, they ended up calling it the Sturm Tiger, so, them.
Tigers exist in a lot of languages, though. And the British are bad at spelling, so it could be a British spelling of storm.
Could be, but it's like one word, not like, generally the British do like Mark V kind of thing, or like one word and then another word.
Oh, the smashed together words. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why you didn't want to say it, because it was the...
And we're back. So, moving on, there were a few other non-tank things that were stolen by militaries.
Which military are we talking about?
Well, the greatest military ever, Star Wars.
The guys who can't shoot anything accurate? Oh my god, they are an Imperium. They're just the Guard. They can't shoot anything. They copied the walker design from the Guard.
The Armored Sentinel was also stolen. It's really terrible.
Especially the one right before this one. They even kept the double window design up top in the movie. Wow, I can't believe I'm saying this. I think George Lucas is a hack.
I mean, at the very least, it seems like he might have time traveled back 1980. But, Guard Armored Sentinels were 2003 era. Come on.
Man, it makes sense. He made a bunch of bad movies. Then he sold the IP for $14 billion. And then they made more bad movies that started losing money. He's a genius. This was the best time travel plot of all.
It does seem like it worked out very well for him, but I think we've got him on this one.
I can't believe he got away with it. He even had the Force, which is just psychic powers and Force swords and power swords. He made the lightsaber off of those. This is mind-blowing.
I mean, credit where credit's due. Lightsaber is different than Force weapons, but...
It really is blatant, isn't it?
Kind of is.
I don't know if I'll ever be able to take George Lucas seriously again. My Jar Jar poster will have to come down from the wall.
No, not Jar Jar's poster.
Misa gonna have to rip it down. Is there anyone else? I feel like this has been going on forever and there's just so many more of them here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the only thing from Star Wars. I don't know if I should really tell you about the speeders because it seems like you've been hit hard enough.
Oh my god, they're just the Shroud Runners. They even took the camo for that scene. I can even see Mark Hamill as a dainty little elf.
All right, let's move on from the travesty that is Star Wars.
Okay, let's ruin Aliens and Alien.
Yeah.
And the whole franchise, really. It's kind of like we're doing Scott Ridley's job for him. Ruining the franchise, I mean.
Yeah, so I guess we'll start with the first one, Alien.
I mean, obviously, yeah, we knew going in that the Tyranids weren't getting out of this one. The Broodlord, it was clearly ripped off by the alien design itself. The Xenomorph is just so obviously based on some of the Tyranids and the Genestealer portion of the army specifically a lot. The Von Ryan's Leapers even.
Yeah, it goes to several of the models and designs. Really, it's disappointing that, again, paints a terrible picture for these classic movies.
Yeah, I can't believe Giger ended up being a time traveler. It explains how he had such horrifying artwork, because he had seen that Skibidi Toilet exists in 2024. That could drive anyone to draw the horrible things that Giger drew.
Well, let's not focus too much on that portion. Let's go back to the human side of Aliens, the second movie.
I love that one with all the action and the Space Marines.
Yeah.
They're shooting their guns at all the aliens in tight hallways, and oh my god.
Yeah, and they've got some power loaders.
No, the power loader at the end. Oh, you're telling me it was ripping off the Invictor tactical warsuit?
I think this one they did try a little bit, but they took it from the Invictor tactical warsuit and Nemesis Dreadknight and maybe even a little bit from the Paragon warsuit and just put it all together. We're taking this back to 1986.
This is really disheartening that all of these amazing, well-respected franchises, all of them ended up just being thieves who stole from Games Workshop.
I know. It really does hurt. I mean, they even went after something amazing personally to me like the Nemesis Dread Knight. It's terrible.
The design, I agree. Oh, you mean the fact they stole it? Sure. Okay, yeah.
You just have no eye for awesomeness.
Yes, I do, because I love the movie Rambo.
Right. The one that stole from Sly Marbo.
Oh my god, I'm just getting that too. They didn't even do much to change the name. They just swapped his M and his R around to make Rambo. And they hired a guy whose nickname was Sly because he was Sylvester Stallone.
It seems like they went out of their way to kind of like really dig in that, hey, we did this. We have time travel and are better than you.
I can't believe they even found someone who would have a name that could be used. That's crazy.
Yeah, it probably took a while to find, but I mean, when you have time travel, you can kind of pick and choose where you go, right?
Is there anyone in the 80s and 90s who was doing cool, super manly stuff with Sylvester Stallone and wasn't ripping off GW?
It seems unlikely. For example, let's take a look at Judge Dredd.
Oh no, my other favorite movie. He said, seriously. Judge Dredd, the 1995 version, not the good one.
Yeah, your favorite movie that you love, Judge Dredd from 1995, has some similarities to a particular squad that was released just a little while ago.
Not the Exaction Squad with the exact same helmet?
Yes, the Exaction Squad with the exact same helmet.
The ones who are an oppressive military police force who consider themselves to be the law?
It feels like they took not just the looks, but like even the lore intent and decided to make a movie out of it.
How could Judge Dredd be on the wrong side of the law? He is the law. I know, because he slurs it at the top of his voice in that movie.
It seems like time travelers just get to make up their own rules, really. It definitely doesn't end there with the whole 80s and 90s movies. There's a bunch of them, but, you know, I know you love Mad Max. It's one of your favorite movies as well.
Road Warrior, Mad Max, no one has seen. Oh no, George Miller ripped off Genestealer Cults, didn't he?
Yeah, like basically the entire aesthetic.
He just took away their scrotums. What is a Genestealer cultist without a scrotum on their forehead, other than more marketable and more interesting and probably capable of getting higher sales?
Hollywood acceptable.
I can't believe he would disrespect the source material of scrotum forehead.
It is terrible to steal an idea, travel back in time and do it, and then not even like fully commit to it, just like try and do it better. No morals whatsoever.
At least the Necrons are safe.
Except... what about the Terminator? I feel like there was probably something going on there.
Damn, you're right. The Terminator with the I'll be back, which is clearly just a reference to GW's rule of we'll be back. And they're just metal skeleton guys, just like the Necrons.
Yeah.
They keep getting up after you beat them. My god, it's so blatant. At least it looks like they stole it from an earlier time when there wasn't much Necron lore, before they actually got to have like actual lore and be space Egyptians.
It does seem like whoever decided to steal from the Necrons and take it back to 1984 for the Terminator didn't quite make it all the way to the latest Necron lore, but it's definitely Necrons.
I've got a bad one in the folder here. This one's gonna hurt us both because we're big fans of Stargate. Unironically, it's fantastic. It's better than all of those trash sci-fi things that were far more successful.
You shut up. Stargate was successful.
It did get like 15 seasons, only like 2 of which were bad, and also it got Universe, but we don't talk about Universe in this household. But as much as we love it, it's pretty clear that the Stargate itself is just a ripoff of the Noctilith Crown.
No.
When you look at it, it's too obvious. You're like, damn it, they just took the spikes off it.
Yeah, it's even got like, you know, the whole like symbol thing of like, oh, we're gonna lock it in. Oh my god. This is devastating, honestly. Stargates. I'm never gonna be able to watch that spin up ever again. Not the same way it used to, man.
I will, but that's because I'm a horrible hypocrite.
Fair enough.
Go watch Stargate Atlantis. It's fantastic the whole way through. Anyway, enough of good series. Let's talk about Neon Genesis Evangelion.
I am very glad that you checked the P.O. box instead of me, given what you just said there on the internet.
In front of mentally unstable weebs who think it's good. Clear case of temporal thievery here. They didn't even try to hide that the Evangelions are just WraithKnights with the Yu-Gi-Oh! Dual Disc ripped off. I'm not going to throw Yu-Gi-Oh into this because I think that's just a coincidence. The dual disc is the most powerful shape to put on a wrist, so it's possible that they also invented it.
Yeah, I mean, we can't say everything is time travel. There is some parallel development, so Yu-Gi-Oh is probably okay, but Evangelion?
It's a little obvious.
It is a little obvious.
There's one that's gonna cause the British Isles a little bit of flack. They're usually so blameless.
They're usually so blameless.
Truly the victims of history. Never oppressed anybody.
That's what the history books write them as every single time they come up, just down on their luck.
But this one is a clear stealing of the entire Ork culture and speech pattern by the British people, specifically like football hooligans. So I think the English Football League itself may be run by these time bandits.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, not everyone is a time bandit that's taken from the Ork culture, but there's definitely some people that have decided to take the Ork culture back and share it among the football hooligans of the British Isle. And they've definitely gone with it, man.
They roleplay so much they don't even learn how to read.
So we've done, the Imperium, we've done Xenos, but not even the Chaos are getting out of this. Even the actual Chaos Octet has been stolen and gone back in time to 1972. Michael Moorcock, you're a time bandit, man. I know it.
Next, you'll tell me that every metal band in the 80s used Corn Demons on their records.
You bring up a good point. I hadn't thought about that. And, I mean, it would make sense that, there could be some risks involved with time travel. And so, we got metal out of it. I mean, I'm here for it, but it could be that all the metal bands of the 80s.
Every single one of them? Who isn't a time thief then? It could even be us.
No, I think I'd know if I was a time thief.
I think I would too, but I don't think we would tell anyone.
That is true.
But this is trying to expose all of them, so I guess it's time to accuse ourselves of time thievery.
No.
I'm ashamed to say it, but Horde mode was indeed stolen from the future. With the new Kill Team announcement this week of them creating a co-op single-player AI mode for their game so that you can play it without having to play against another player. I know, it's rough to hear it.
Yeah, I thought this was something that we were going to take to our grave, but it's good to have it finally off the chest kind of thing and admit fault to being a time traveler.
And if you want to support our legal efforts in this, you can find our Patreon at patreon.com/solely-singleton or buy some of our merch on Orchidate, just in case we need it for legal fees if Games Workshop ever finds out that we're time bandits and attempts to sue us over it. Not that Games Workshop would ever sue us.
No, certainly not. They're super chill about all that kind of stuff. And I mean, we're just trying our best with, trying to make the community a bit more friendly and more options and kind of stuff. We're just doing our best.
Right, we were like Time Robin Hood. There's no way that they would take legal action against us. All right, but that should be all of the time bandits we found. If you have any more, feel free to share them with us. I'm sure we've missed a couple.
I mean, it seems like it's been all over the place, so, it's tough to track it all down. I mean, even Columbo wasn't perfect.
Columbo was perfect. Shut your damn mouth. But feel free in the comments to share any other time bandits with us that you can find, or your thoughts on these ones if you think they're guilty or not. And while you're down there, please do the other YouTube pleasantries for us. It'd be a big help. All right, I think that does it for this topic. So I guess we can get out of here for the week. It's been a real rough, serious expose episode. I can't believe that we made it all the way through such a serious topic. Not a single laugh was had the whole time.
Yeah, really, just a heavy-hitting episode where several heroes just crumbled in front of us kind of thing.
You know how the saying goes. You either die a hero or live long enough to learn about time travel and get rich.
I think we failed on the last little part on that.
Son of a bitch. We're terrible.
And get them next time.
We should just play the lotto next time instead of stealing stuff from a random British company that makes games.
And releasing it to the community for free.
That was really stupid, that last part. Fuck.
Yeah.
Whatever. Get us out of here.
Sounds good.